done shared already? Who done shared this already? What's going on, Cole? All right, let me download this stuff real quick. Hey. Thanks for everybody for tuning in so far. About to get started here. Give me just a moment. I'll be back with y'all in a minute. All right, how y'all doing today? Man. So today I'm doing this live. I know I'm gonna start off first by saying thank you to everybody who's been tuning in, who participated in Mr. Blake's video. I did have a discussion with the lead detective, Detective Shragi today. We met for about 3 hours. And he did watch that video. And surprisingly, he was moved by it. He watched the whole thing. And he said he appreciated everybody taking the time to make the video. And he's willing to take all the criticism that came with that video. And so I just want to say thank y'all again. I'm very appreciative. I'm sure Mr. Blake's family is very appreciative. Y'all all did a fantastic job. And we only posted it, I think, a couple days ago. And it's already over 100 shares and 1,000 views, which shows how much people is concerned about Mr. Blake. And so I definitely want to say thank y'all. I want to hear from y'all, though, because I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of times that I could go live or talk or, have discussions with the community. And a lot of times I do be wanting to, but then I always feel like nobody's paying attention, nobody's listening, because of the actions, not from the numbers. Because of course you can see people's watching. There's people who will watch and never say nothing. I think like Mr. Blake's video, like I said, it had 100 shares, but over 1,000 views and maybe like 80 something likes. So it just shows people are watching it. They're not liking it. They're not engaging, which is fine. But I don't know if this is something I should do every week. I thought about doing a weekly thing called Sunday Sermons with Sherman. And it'll be every Sunday where we just, we go live and we talk about the things in our community, the stuff that's affecting us, and you be able to get my perspective on things. I did make a post the other day about any play it safe Negroes to get away from me. And there's a reason I said that, because I feel like right now at this point, you got to think about history and how things have played out. And every single person that's alive right now, there's a reason you're alive and there's a mission you're here to do. And I really think that we have to, anything that we've done before, it's not going to work no more. We can't keep playing it safe. We have to take control of our own destiny as Black people. And we definitely have to be conscious of what's going on around us and in this place and time. Human existence has been going on for years. I believe that, every time in space has a time for something to happen. And right now, I think all the great people who's alive And, you know, maybe I'm biased, but Omaha, I think, has a lot of great leaders, the unborn leaders, I should say, like Miss Sanithia. Like, you got people who really care about their community, and they do stuff from the heart. And I want to salute all of y'all, because there's not a lot of people who's willing to accept the mission. There's a lot of people that is called. I had a conversation with Miss Collier the other day, Tanisha, and she was saying how a few years ago she just felt a difference in herself. And I called it the Great Awakening, because there was some kind of energy that was put out where people consciously see things going on around them, and you see life for really what it is. It's just that a lot of people don't react to it. And unfortunately, you have some people who's battling their self. So you have your spiritual self that's here and knows what it's here for. Then you have the creative self that has been brainwashed by the system to believe that being Black has to be a standard of some kind of Black life, compared, you know, in the United States, how they categorize us and put us in positions of gang life or niggas and bitches, whatever. Oop, I did say I wasn't gonna cuss. My mother-in-law watching, sorry. But, you know, we have been categorized in those positions. But if you think about it, the greatness that lies in the creative mind of Black people, if we were not on none of that and was still focused on our creative true nature and our creative true self, I believe that would actually save the world, because it was what established civilization amongst these people. And if we got back to being our creative selves, then I think that we would be able to reestablish the order that's lacking in the world. So anyway, I do want to touch on this meeting that I had with the detective about Levi. Give me 1 second here, because it's important for us to know that, for one, that people is working on the case of Mr. Blake, and also the transparency. So he definitely understood that since they haven't talked about it and nobody's been talking about it besides us, that it seems like nobody's doing nothing. And so he gave me a quick rundown on everything that they covered. He was able to answer all of the questions that I had, as far as like checking on the things that I was curious about when it came to Mr. Blake. And if you don't know by now, Mr. Blake is a 80-year-old man who's been missing since August 17th. And here we are now, November the 10th. And no sight, no word from him, no nothing. And so what he was able to tell me is that they were able to get like a dog scent from Mr. Blake. And it led them to a bus stop. Okay. We don't know for sure if he got on the bus or not. I'm not for sure. I can't say 100% for sure. But I do know that there is some information not lining up on the date of his disappearance. And so I'm waiting to get the results from the information I had to pull from him, from the people who reported him. And as soon as I get that information, I'm going to let y'all know 100% the truth. I was going to tell y'all today, but I decided to wait until I get the complete solid evidence on the day that he went missing, because I'm not 100% convinced that he went missing on the 17th. And that's just me being honest with y'all. Okay. Mr. Blake has had instances before where he walked off. We have spoken to a woman. Just so happened this woman seen me and Terry in the library, and she told us of a time that she came across Mr. walking, and he didn't have no shoes on, and he had just his socks on. And he told her his name was Pone, and he was from Chicago, and that he was looking for his daughter and his son. And when she didn't believe him, she had him pull out his ID, seeing that it was him, Levi Blake, and she called the police. And then the police came and they took him back to J.C. Wade Villa. And this was probably like in April, okay? So this was before he's actually been missing this long of a period of time. He had walked off before. And so now, at this point, what we are planning to do is a joint effort. Shout out to Leger, who mentioned that in the video, that there needs to be a joint effort of the community, the police, and everyone involved on searching for Mr. Blake. So the moment I get the information on how we're going to pull this off citywide, I will definitely let y'all know. It's just unlikely. I mean, it's very rare from my study of people with dementia, and even with the detective today, that most people with dementia is found within days of walking off. There was a man who was recently reported missing with dementia. They found him the very next day. It's very rare that we go this far, this many days without finding them. And also, it's very rare that he never is seen again. And so with Mr. Blake being gone for so long, at this point now, we have to turn up the heat together as a community. Yeah, we can come together. And we have to turn up the heat with the Omaha police, which he has stated that now Mr. Blake's case is top priority. I believe that that video of the community coming together played a role in that, because, you know, when it seemed like it's only a couple people bothered by it, it's not as effective. But when you got 40-something people, and that's just the people who submitted videos, I know it's way more of y'all based off the views of the video, that there's a lot of people that's concerned about Mr. Blake, and it could be any one of us that's missing like that. Shouts out to you, Frank, brother Frank. So that meeting today was 3 hours long. We covered all of the evidence that we was able to cover without violating like the rules of the case. It is still considered a missing person case, but we are exploring multiple options. And I think the detective today was a great eye opener. That video was a big eye opener to him on how much y'all or us or we as the community is concerned. And I just, man, y'all just don't know how happy I was and grateful I was to see that many people turn around with a 30-second video and put it together to show that we cared about Mr. Blake. So within this next week, there will be something on the news and an announcement made on what we're going to do moving forward with finding Mr. Blake, because like I said, we can't let it the case die. We can't let it go into an abyss of all the other missing people. We have to stay vigilant on the case. And so part of the reason why I did this live, not only just to talk about Mr. Blake, but really to talk about us as a community. And sometimes I do feel like that we are living in a straight twilight zone. And the reason why I say that is because I don't expect everybody to see things the way I do. And I don't expect nobody to be into what I'm into, but don't be surprised when I'm not into what you're into either. Okay. I'm not into having meetings anymore with people who just want to talk and not do nothing. Okay. I am handling or responding to multiple emails and texts and inboxes about not only just missing people, police incidents, and the main thing I wanted to touch on today was the youth, the amount of youth that's running away and the amount of youth that is being taken by this system. And I hate to say it, but it seems like everybody's in this twilight zone, like they don't see what's happening. Okay. Think about this. We've had this system of jumping off the porch, coming down on niggas, doing the street stuff. But how many people have died from this same mentality? Okay. How many? Lots. We can name a lot. How many people have went to jail or have been paralyzed trying to live this created life and understanding that this created life is what takes us away from our true greatness as people? Why is it so hard for people to see the trap of this life? Anybody know? You can share it in the chat. I'll post your comment. Why is it so hard for us to see that this is a trap? Why is it so hard to see that nobody is coming to save us, that we have to do for ourselves? In this small town of Omaha, the majority of us is related. The majority of us know of each other, and we actually have an opportunity to come together as people and be the village that it takes to help with these children that we're having these issues with. And it's not really an issue. The problem is a lot of parents are working, everybody's living check to check, and you are leaving your child to the system to be programmed. And that program, if you're not tapped into it, is going to have your children being exactly what you see them being. I'm going to share an idea with y'all that I've had for years, and you let me know what you think. But there is a way, I believe, a way to fix or to help with the issues in the Black community. And I shared this with George and Cameron earlier today. And it's two ideas that I've written up. One is called hood houses, okay? Now, we all know when we were younger, there was the mom in the neighborhood that allowed the kids to come to their house. And we got to come there and we got to play, do whatever, and probably did things that our own parents wasn't allowing us to do at home. If we took that same concept and all these abandoned houses that's in our community, we take that same concept and we put hood houses there where people can still come, the kids can come to the house, but there will be resources there. There'll be computers there. There will be a set rotation of people coming in like a family environment. So an elder, a man, a woman, a young boy, young girl, where the kids can come to that house if they have all this stuff going on at home, and they can come to that house and get real mentorship. We can teach them how to cook and clean, teach them carpentry, cutting grass, basic foundational things that a lot of children are missing, which is making them not be aware of really who they are and how to make money, which lures them more into the street life. When you can go out and make money on the streets, if we're not giving them some other way to make money, we're failing. And so with hood houses, what it would do is put a house right in your neighborhood that you would be able to go to learn those basic things, okay? Then also with that, we would have to do an inner city gang exchange, meaning we take in gang members from other cities and they take ours, but they have to be located in rural areas where there's no contact with social media or no family, right? And on those campgrounds, because we would have to keep them there for about 6 months to a year. But on those campgrounds, what we will be doing is gym, healthy eating, training, trades, right? Teaching them fishing, hunting, everything that Kasim is doing with the BAA, and removing them from their environment in order to get their mind right. And at the same time as we're removing them from that environment, what we would be doing for the people at the house is giving them the resources. So that way, when the kids come back home, both the parents and the child has had some kind of mental reform. And that investment into our Black community would shift. And the crazy part about it is the people we would need the most is the people now that's afraid to speak. And that's the people who's been through the system and you're still alive. Okay? You're still alive and you figured out it was a trap and you turned your life around. And not really around, but you figured out that this is a trap and you've stopped doing it. Those criminals, those people with the ex-felons, the people who used to do stuff that I hear now say, man, I can't say nothing to them little dudes because I used to be like that. No, you can say something. because you hold the key to what they need, which is understanding that this is a trap and they need to come on up out of there. Okay. If we were able to implement something like that, because right now what I'm running into is children, if they haven't done nothing criminal wise and they run away, the police just take them back home. But there's clearly a reason why they're running away from home. It ain't necessarily always just the parents. It might be just the lure of the streets. But there's nowhere, if we was to pick the children up to bring them back to home, there's nowhere in between before they get in trouble for them to go. So right now, what's happening is if a kid run away and the police find them, which they hardly ever participate in, or if we go out and find them, there's nowhere you take them back home, they just gonna run off again. There's nowhere in between until they get in trouble. So you basically just have to wait till they commit a crime before they can be placed in the system. And then once you do that, you're running the risk of all kind of things, because putting a kid that's just now getting started or thinking they in the streets into an incarceration environment with a bunch of real criminals is only going to get them, I believe it's only going to teach them to be more criminal. And so we need something like that, not just in Omaha, but in the United States. And to be honest with y'all, I am planning an exit from Omaha only because, like I said, it feels like we're living in the Twilight Zone in this place. Nobody sees or act like they see what's going on. But what they rather do is talk about all the latest celebrity news and gossip. And I don't have time for that. I could care less about sports. I don't care about none of that stuff. That's just me. I'm not telling you to do that. I just don't have no interest in none of that, because for the rest of my life on earth, I plan on bringing awareness to the greatness of us. And the only way to do that, for one, is living it, which we're doing, and then speaking on it. And like I said, sometimes I have a problem speaking on it because sometimes I think nobody's listening. And so I just keep what I know to myself, or my opinion to myself. So with the young people right now, we losing our future, man. We're losing our future. 15, 16, 12, 11, they dying regularly. And I know that some people was offended when I made a comment the other day that I don't really explain or reply to non-Black people when it comes to Black issues. And the reason why I don't is because unless you've taken the time to understand what we've been going through, I don't have time to explain to you on no Facebook posts. So I'm not going to. That's my choice. If you want to know about the issues, then that's something I think you need to figure out on your own, and then come join the conversation once you're aware of what's going on. Because I don't have time to explain it. I am a B1 person, meaning Black first. That is my focus. That's my goal, because that's where I come from, the gutter. And so the people that's in the gutter who feel hopeless, and most of the time we feel like this is supposed to be our life, those are the people who I'm more in touch with. Unfortunately, for anybody else, I don't get into trying to understand. I don't try to get into trying to educate people on what they're supposed to be doing or understanding about Black people. I'm just not going to do it. It's not my job. You need to do that yourself. And for the Black people who are docile, when I say do nothing Negroes, I'm not talking about the people. If you got a job or a family and you doing what you're supposed to do, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. If you're a real father, a real mother, then salute to you, because you're doing exactly what you want, what you're supposed to do. That's not the do nothing Negroes. I'm talking about the people who have an option or are in position to make changes in our community, and they're refusing to do so, or not doing it if they're not chasing their bag. Like it has to be some kind of money involved in order for them to give a younger person information, or for if there's not money involved, and you won't respect the elder who's giving you the information. We have to get rid of this separation, because right now in the Black community, there's a lot of things that's separating us. Financial. If you poor, I ain't listening to you. If you got money, you don't do nothing for us. We don't care. That's how people feel. And then you got the uneducated and educated. Oh, I got a degree, so you don't know nothing. And people with degrees, sometimes I think if it's not in a book, then they don't know it. So having common sense or courage to stand up to things that's right or wrong, then they won't do it. And so that brings me to this next thing right here, where I was talking about Mr. Sherman. So I don't know if y'all seen that, but there was a shooting with the Douglas County Sheriff that involved an unarmed black man. And that just happened the other day. And what's so crazy about this is, man, you have to go back and look at the story because I'm not about to play it and go all into it. But what I will say is this. Look at Mr. Clark, okay? He said that when he got out the car, that he was fearful of his life and that he thought Mr. Sherman was going to punch him and knock him out and take his firearm. But if you look at the story, he got out. In 10 seconds, he shot Davion, okay? 10 seconds. Where was the de-escalation that you're trained to do? Because if you got out with your gun, then your intention was to shoot. It was never an intention of any kind of de-escalation. And he said he seen Miss Hamadi getting grabbed and trying to get put in the car, so he thought it was a kidnapping, although he already called for backup. Now, if you call for backup and you so scared to get some hands, then you probably should have parked across the street, watched the scene develop. If something happened, then you could have followed the car if you thought it was a kidnap, but at least waited until the actual police in a marked car and the uniform show up that has other options other than shooting. Then that's what you could have waited on. What kills me about the city is, and our citizens, is when things like this happen, we are not vigilant about it. Like, we're not taking to the streets. We're not calling the Douglas County Sheriff. Nobody's trying to do nothing besides, I know Project Knows, which Robert Wagner, I've been rolling with him for years. He was the first person that I seen bring it up or started talking about it, and that's who I've been working with. I'm not by no means trying to be the forefront person of bringing attention to this case, but I am conscious enough to know that Mr. Clark, when he got out that car, his intention was to shoot. That's always what it is with us. It's never a de-escalation intention. His intention was to get out and shoot. You see 3 and 4 people. He said he felt like he was outnumbered maybe. But why even get out the car? Now, Kasim do security at some of the toughest clubs that you can think of, okay? This man is doing security with a bunch of drunk people every day, and not one time has he ever had to shoot somebody. But that's because Kasim know how to fight. He got hands, and he knows self-defense tactics. Do the police even learn self-defense anymore? Because, Mr. Clark, if you're that scared, why get your scary butt out the car, and then in 10 seconds you shoot that man, even though his girlfriend told you she didn't need no help? I know people keep saying that she's a victim, and I'm not justifying no form of abuse at all. But when I talked to her, for one, she didn't look physically abused. And if she's mentally abused, only she's going to be the one that's get tired of that and make that choice to say that she's a victim. Until then, I'm going with what she said. And she told me that she's not a victim. Her boyfriend was not beating her up. They were having a verbal discussion. And regardless of what the police are saying, all of the information they tried to bring up about his background and all that stuff was not known to Mr. Clark when he got out that car and shot that man in 10 seconds. He didn't know nothing except for a black person. Black people was arguing. He got out the car with his firearm, not holstered. He already had it in his hand. So you get out with an intention to shoot. And so, like Leger saying, is anything to cover themselves. How do you expect the police to police themselves? So you have an incident. You look into the incident yourself involving one of your own people. And of course, the result is going to be, I'm coming back with he didn't do nothing. Wrong. Why? Because this is one of your people. It goes back to why we need an outside auditor to be in charge of police shootings. You cannot expect these people to investigate themselves and come back with anything other than what we just saw. You shot an unarmed man. You said he was walking towards you. You said his fist was balled. Put your gun away and get these hands since you interjected yourself. But if you didn't want to get into a fight or an argument or disagreement, it was your duty as a cop. Where's that same duty of de-escalation that you were trained to do? Or were you trained? You so scared to get hit in your mouth. Talking about you thought that Mr. Sherman was going to beat you up and take your gun and shoot you and shoot Miss Hamadi. You came up with that whole theory in your head in 10 seconds, bro? I don't think so. You got out that car with the intention to shoot somebody. You didn't get out with the intention to do nothing else. And when you really look at the case and then you look at the idea of policing, see, because I do think that we need an entity in place to police and help people when they need it. Correct. I agree with that. I do agree with that. But the idea that policing, the way policing have been done in the United States for all these years, there lies the problem, because it's the same good old boy slave catcher. These people are nothing but property syndrome, and they all look out for themselves. Black or white, it don't matter with the police. It's the blue. That's what they look out for, is themselves. But we don't look out for ourselves like that. But they're going to look out for themselves. And so when you think about the idea of the police, when they used to have protect and serve on the side of the car, now they took that part out. And if you know the history of the police, they were started to protect property. And it was revealed again in 2020 when George Floyd got killed. These people were so mad about people burning buildings and stuff, they were still missing the idea that we watched a man kneel on another man's neck until he stopped breathing and died right in front of us. What property do we care about when we see something like that? Tamika said, shouldn't any self-defense charge or supposed self-defense case be taken straight to a grand jury and not just one of their own reviewing the incident? I believe so. Protect themselves, that's what it's about. Yeah, of course. I mean, but how many times do we got to see it to know it? How many times do we have to see the police shoot somebody or be in an incident where they're wrong, and then they make up stuff to protect themselves? Just like the incident with Tall Twin. Okay, I don't know if y'all seen that, but long story short, she was not home. Her 14-year-old daughter was there. The police came there. They said somebody ran into her house that they was chasing, and they needed to get in there to see it. Okay, and it was a stolen car. The police kicked on her door. They terrified her daughter, threatened her with arresting her. And then at the end of the day, the person never came in her house. They never apologized for it. But what did they do to cover themselves? The car that was stolen was left a block behind Tall Twin's house, parked in her neighbor's yard. Omaha police. On the police report, when we went and picked it up, they stated that the car was parked at her house. Why? Because they want to justify why they was at her house. But let's be for real. The reason they were at her house is because Twin is a proud Black woman. She has Juneteenth flags at her house. She has RBG things on her house. They're chasing a Black person. You see a house that's clearly marked as a Black person's residence. So they assume that he ran there with no proof or no evidence. And then to cover their ass, they put on a police report, we towed the car from this address, which is her house, which is a complete lie. You did not tow that car from her house. You're just saying that so you have a justification of why you showed up at her house, treating her daughter that way, because she made a big deal out of it. She went and pressed charges, and she did a police report and a police complaint with internal investigations. And I'll bring her back on the show so y'all can see or hear it from her mouth what she ended up discovering. But that whole incident, when you think about it, y'all were wrong. You were disrespectful to her daughter. And to cover up why you was at her house, you put on the police report that the car was towed from her house just so you can have a reason of why you was at her house. It's all bullshit. You wasn't at her house because the car was there. You was at her house because you assumed that since she was a black woman with black things outside of her house, that and you chasing black people, that's where he ran to, which was not true. So again, it's the same thing with them. So when this Kevin Clark thing with Davion Sherman showed up, and the moment they start bringing up Mr. Sherman's record, I knew what time it was, because it's the same playbook. That's why I feel like it's a freaking Twilight Zone, because we still got people questioning the fact that him shooting him and he had a record and he had this in his system. Kevin Clark didn't know none of that when he pulled up. None of it. So why make that relevant in the case when you're talking about it to the public? Same thing with 9/11, same thing with what they always do. They have to make a reason for you as a human to see that, well, maybe that person needed to be shot. He was beating his girl. He's on drugs. He got a record. It's their same MO all the time. It's their go-to. Yeah, Frank, it's their go-to every freaking time, man. Every time. How many times are we going to sit there and fall for that same thing over and over and over again? The moment they start talking about your record before what actually happened, then you know it's bull. Same reason why they keep statistics on black crime. So every time we say something about how we are treated in America, they can go back to those statistics and say, well, y'all killing yourself. Why you don't keep a track of white on white crime, or Mexican on Mexican crime, or Jew on Jew crime? Why is there no data kept on that? Let's be for real. Anybody in the comment, Russian on Russian crime, anything? Because there's a reason why. Because it's just used to cover up whenever they do something to us, then they can bring up those statistics. But let's be for real. If you live in a community full of your peers, so if you live in a white community, black community, Mexican community, every crime usually that's going to happen is going to be by the same race of people. And so, but it's just not kept track the way it is with us. They want to act like it don't exist, like Frank said. And if you police those communities the same way you police North Omaha, you will see that the crimes are occurring there even more. But it's just that they don't have police sitting on every corner like we do down here. I swear you can go North Omaha and you'll see a police officer every other block. You go out west, it's like they don't even know that place exists. There's no police just sitting on the corners watching the neighborhood, waiting for you to mess up. That's why white collar crimes and with people doing crimes, they don't catch them right away because they're not suspecting them. They're not a suspect. We're a suspect just because of this right away. Let's be for real. And if you are a white person, because I have no issues with white people, I don't have no issues with a police officer. What I have an issue with is a crooked police officer. I have an issue with white people who believe in their superiority based off the system. And I have an issue with black people who hinder the growth of other black people. And in Omaha, that hindrance of black people is coming 100% from black people right now. And then the white people above that. Black people, white people. What I've come to the conclusion of is in Omaha, there's more lucrative business in keeping us in crime poverty than to help us come out of that mental criminal poverty mindset. Because you get federal dollars for high crime areas. People can get their salaries paid with their nonprofit buildings located in those high crime areas. There's more money in the jail, the judges, everybody got a job, the coroner. There's so much money into us behaving the way we do. If there was a fix to that, a lot of people would lose their jobs. That's why when we were at the Bryan Center and we brought down the crime rate in that area and was awarded by the city for bringing down the crime area rate in that area, then we were removed from that area, because you can't take away the golden ticket. That area is the golden ticket for all the nonprofits to say, look at this crime. We got to keep getting money for this crime. What Tony say? This, what North Omaha so-called leaders and empowerment network asked for. Boy, Tony, you don't let up off them, do you? Yep, but it's true. Let's keep it for real. Let's keep it 1,000. There's a CNN interview with the chief and them at the Empowerment Network saying that there's a coalition between Black people and the police, and we're working together to better our community, and it should be a model used for other cities to get their Black people and the police to work together. We're the tokens, y'all. Omaha is the tokens. If you think that's true, you drop a comment and tell me a time where you had a great interaction with the police as a Black person. And, he said the only thing they've been doing for years is collecting checks. Woo! I wish I had a bomb noise right now, Mr. Johnson. You right. There's been a lot of checks collected. And what I found out is the more, because we came into this thing, I'm not a nonprofit. Untamed is not a nonprofit. The only way we make money is through the sale of our hoodies. We don't make money no other way, through donations. But see, when I started doing this, it was never about the money. And I haven't worked since 2019. It's not about the money. It was just for me, because I have so many family members in this community that I felt like I had to do something to be a light or a beacon of hope or some kind of change I had to be some kind of change to be an example. I have grandkids. And I don't want them growing up and saying, Pawpaw, when all this stuff was going on, what did you do to change or try to help it change? I got to do something. And so what my whole goal was to come in and prove that you can go into 68111, which is the poorest area, and still have engagement events without crime and violence and people fighting. And that's what we did for 2 years in a row. And the first year we did it off of all community donations, which means all the people that sent me money wanted it to happen. They believed in it. And the first year we was able to go 20 weeks every Sunday feeding people and bringing in guest speakers. The second year, I was able to get a $10,000 check from the city for the turnback tax, which wasn't enough. But thanks to Shawnee, Tamika, Sundiata, we all from the streets, we took that money and we flipped it, and we were able to sell dinners, sell different things to make that money double and triple. So we had enough to carry out the whole 20 weeks. Shouts out to them. The next year, you know what? Instead of making it better, because that year when they gave me the 10 grand, we was on the news probably about 10 times, in the World Herald, Omaha Star. And the next year, they gave us less, 6,500. And then this year, they told me I don't get nothing. Because it has to be, and even with that 6,500, you know what we did? I turned around and did a summer program where I taught kids how to make t-shirts and how to make money off of streaming. And it made the news. Kaylee came out, she covered it, and they like, damn, we gave this nigga $4,000 less and he still pulled off something with these kids. So this year, we ain't giving them nothing. And they didn't. And it's okay with me, because guess what they don't know? The turnback tax has been going on for about 13 years. Nobody knew about it. And what my big mouth do, I found out about it, and then I told everybody else. So now, even though I didn't get nothing this year, the people who I told, they all got 10 grand. Some got 5, but they got something, because what we did was broke up the whole group of these people that was in the right places to pass that money to each other. We broke that up. And by breaking that up, I was happy to see my people that I helped fill out their applications. They got that money. Now, maybe I didn't get it. It's okay. but they did. And I'm thankful for that. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them. Where is the voice of Thomas Warren and Black Police Officers Association? You about to be doing stand-up comedy, Tony Johnson, because that's a big joke right there. Okay? It's a big joke because they throw black in the front of something and then that means something. No, it's still just Police Officers Association, not black. Because B1, Black First, we focus 100% on our community, and that's not going to happen. Glow says South Omaha has been neglected for several years now. It's very sad, and all we see is homeless and trash. No more police driving around. You motivate me to do this for South Omaha. Yes, ma'am. And that's the whole point. What I came to the conclusion of is people sit and they say life is something you have to figure out and what's going on. To me, life is an experience that our spirit needs to have. And during that experience, you have to create and build a legacy that's going to better the human race. So when you die and people finally start digging into your life and what you stood for, then they will be able to gain something from that that's going to better the community, better the human race. And that's what I'm dedicating the rest of my life to. I used to dedicate my life to the protection of my mama. When my mama died on Christmas Day, in 2020, that gave me the permission to do something else. And it was her permission. Glow said, yeah, you're doing good. Yes, that's how it's supposed to be, Sharon. Is Karen. Jobina, what you say? She said, oh, because Tommy don't give a shit. Yeah, and let's be for real. I'm going to tell y'all something I didn't tell y'all that was going on during the Vivian Strong thing. When we were going through the process of getting Vivian Strong's historical marker done, right? We had a meeting and the mayor sent Tommy Warren to the meeting to say that they don't want a historical marker of Vivian's placed on public property because it was a police involved shooting. And when is it going to stop? She said, when does it stop? Putting up stuff for people who was killed by the police. She said, next thing you know, they're going to want something for Zachary Bear Hills. That's their exact words. And I'm like, wow. This is a 14-year-old girl who was shot in the back of the head for nothing. The mayor doesn't even come to North Omaha. What difference do it make where we put Vivian's marker for everybody in North Omaha who was affected by that? Why do it matter where we put it at? And everyone in North Omaha was affected. Why? Because I was born in 76. That happened in 69. By the time we got here, we didn't see the glory days of 24th Street like our elders that I speak to. They all got to see the glory. We didn't see it. We didn't get to see it because it was already tore down. It was already a piece of crap. 24th Street was already non-business. And if you think about it, our business district is supposed to be from 24th and Ames to 24th and Cummings. I can probably count on one hand how many legitimate businesses is right there, right? I know Glow is talking about South Omaha. One thing I have to respect about South Omaha is they don't wait until Cinco de Mayo or Omaha Day or nothing. Every weekend, they got something going on in their district, and it's a bunch of businesses. We don't have that. I can leave South Omaha feeling like I just left Mexico. We won't leave North Omaha feeling like you experienced North Omaha because there's nothing there. There's nothing there. To me, Amani with Idle Vital is the biggest, brightest part of the hope of 24th Street is her. Bringing it back right there. Dow House Fashions across the street from there with Saranda. That's another bright hope of young people restoring actual business in our business district. And if we really wanted to be for real, the business district is full of buildings that you cannot buy. You can only lease, and they all need work. So if you as a new business owner and you want to come into North Omaha, you have to put in the work and remodel that building, but you don't have an option to buy. You just do the remodel and then you can start using the building. And if you ever move out, you can't take back the money you spent on the remodel. You're not getting reimbursed for that. So that's why every single building is still empty, because no new business can come in and afford to remodel a place that's never going to be theirs. So it's all a big game. It's like a freaking Twilight Zone. And nobody sees it because all we're doing is focus on all the other stuff. Because if we had business in our area, then that would be commerce, circulated commerce. And we know what happened on Black Wall Street, because if Black people, since we are the number one spenders, we spend with each other, we spend with ourselves, and guess what happens? Then we become the money people. The money circulates in our community. We can send our kids down to 24th Street to go get a job instead of having to catch a bus and go out west. They could go right down to 24th Street and go work at a doctor's office or a dentist's office or a pharmacy or a lawyer's office or a photography center. We have all those people in our community that has these businesses already. They just don't have buildings. They doing pop-ups. We got all that. What Tony say? South Omaha got elected on a plan. A lot of them communities and boards with money. A lot of them on committees and boards with money. Yeah, you're right. And that's probably why their community the way it is. And she said that's because the whites want to take back North Omaha. Of course. What do they call Omaha, North Omaha? Huh? They call it North Downtown. Because they want it to be the living quarters for downtown people that work in downtown. So let's prove that the Negroes can't have businesses, because every time there's a shooting, there's something, it just goes right back to that fact. So we gave y'all a chance, but y'all couldn't get businesses going. So now we're just going to build houses. Ernie Chambers Court, you know, that little housing, that was a test. You know, we're not supposed to have businesses down there, but we should. Business is what makes our communities thrive. And so before Vivian got killed, that is what was going on. The moment Vivian got killed and everybody got mad about it, instead of the mayor at that time, I think it was it Sorensen? No, who was the mayor? Gene Leahy, maybe? Yeah. Instead of him saying, oh, okay, let's try to fix this with the community, he doubled down on the no-nonsense attack on the Black community for being mad, and then decided we're never going to rebuild their business district. Make them suffer. We'll turn their business district into a nonprofit district. That's the only reason why I haven't gotten a nonprofit. People tell me all the time, oh, get a nonprofit. That's going to help you get the money to get the funding. But I believe we should have businesses. That's why Untamed is a registered business. It's not a nonprofit. And the business that we have is I'm from the hood streetwear, which people see that and they think we talking about hoods, but no, we're talking about the brotherhood, the motherhood, the sisterhood, the fatherhood, the reestablishment of the family, the reestablishment of the village. That's what the hood is. It's the village. Before it took a village, now it take a hood. That's our motto. But trying to explain that to some bourgeoisie Negroes who all they see is hood, and then they start thinking bad stuff, they don't want to support nothing that has to do with the hood. But I'm telling you right now, Black people, if we took our hoods and made them a place of commerce and business, we have a hood in every state, in every city. If we turned every hood into a place of commerce, we will be winning. Stop spending our money with everybody else and win for ourselves. What she say? I try to make sure I keep up with this. Oh, correct. You got the College World Series downtown, all the growth downtown. Those whites want to capitalize off that. Watch out. They gonna price Blacks out of North Omaha. Yep. And it's just the same old game. And so I shared a video about Sundiata talking about the churches and the liquor stores on every corner. That video was 2 years old. It got over 11,000 plays on TikTok and 1,000 on Facebook. And a lot of people was chiming in about the churches and the liquor stores because they was upset because he said, what is the churches teaching us? If there's so many of them, why ain't it so safe, or, everybody's not into church? And my opinion is, I just think people have lost faith in the church. And I'm definitely a spiritual person. And I grew up in church, not Salem, but Greater Bethlehem Temple. We went to church every day. It wasn't just on Sundays. We participated in Bible school and all that stuff. And back then, it seemed like the church was more engaged in the community. But the problem is now people have lost faith in the church, because what is the church visibly doing for the community? Now, you got people like Pastor Page. Shouts out to him. When I needed him, he's there. That's one church pastor that I could say has been there for us. And him and Pastor Ballard, man, Pastor Ballard, he's been there. Assembly of the Saints, shouts out to him too. But for the most part, we just haven't seen a lot of activities. He said no family programs in North Omaha, churches that dropped the ball, churches, original nonprofits. They are actually the original nonprofits. You're right. And unfortunately, a lot of people have left the church over the years. Yes, they have. Yes, they have. And the thing about a church, too, with a nonprofit status, you can't try to persuade your community in any way political. So you're gathering people for no reason. And so the point is, if we're going to be getting together every Sunday, let's talk about the things that affect our community, okay? Let's gather. And while you got all these people here, let's put a pot together on money that we can start investing back into our community. I think the church should take a new direction, because the old way is just not going to work. Anything that was going on before, it's not going to work now, because you're dealing with a new breed of people and a new kind of people, and their minds are different. She said, absolutely. Yeah. Pastor Ballard. Yeah, he definitely has been there for us. So I'm not the kind of person that lump everybody together and knock them. So just like with today, when I met with the detective, he did hear me out. He's new to the case. I have to give the chief. So the chief of police, when I got brought on to Mr. Blake's case and I started finding out all these different things that didn't seem right, I did call the chief, and the chief assigned 3 new detectives to the case. And he called me back and he told me, thank you for calling him. He was not aware of all the details, and he assigned 3 new detectives. So these 3 new detectives, the one I met with today, Detective Shragi, he has been working. He got a lot of information that he's collected, and it's probably over 50 pages now. And that just goes to show you that Mr. Blake case is not just about him walking off anymore. Okay, now I will say that. So if you think about it now, where we are in this time, and not to knock anybody who was born after the internet, but the people who was born before the internet, we know we are the last hope for the society, because after us, everybody else is mentally caught on the brainwash that they have suffered through social media. We know the time before social media, right? We know how to get outside and do stuff still with our hands. And unlike Kevin Clark, if we had to get in that situation and we gonna interject ourselves, we would have been able to fight, not just pull out a gun and shoot. But if you think about it, everybody after that point is all shooting. Everybody's just shooting. They're not fighting. He said, I believe social media has steered people away from the church. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But think about this, that it was the church who removed or made the attempt to remove us from the Bryan Center, and it was a Black church at that. And they seen the impact it was having. But I'm going to tell you what was the turning point for that. When Nancy Gardner, the lady with the newspaper, World Herald, she did that article on us in 2022. She mentioned that I got $10,000 from the turnback tax. Oh, snap. This dude done got some money using our grounds. We can't have that. Even though it wasn't enough to complete what we needed to do, and we had to hustle to flip the money to make it be enough to feed all those people. It was still the fact that once they seen some money was involved, now we need our space back, because there's this big money that the senators done worked out, and everybody got a plan now for their space. But if it was really about the community, then you would have allowed that thing to grow and you would have enhanced it. They brought in Josh Jones to try to do something, and he already don't work with them already. They did one event over the summer. So you did all this to say that we wasn't doing nothing. I mean, that you wanted us out of there, and then you came into the Bryant Center to do what? Nothing. Never unlocked the gate for the kids to play. Never held just that one event. And other than that, you didn't do nothing else. What are we talking about? It's a freaking Twilight Zone around here. Because every single time you get some kind of activity, Cheryl Weston said it best, every time you get some sort of activity or positive movement in North Omaha, then it's the other black people who want to make money off of they poverty pimping, that want to make money off of the crime and the mental status. Then they find a way to thwart it from the background to make sure it doesn't continue. What did he say? Church was not interested in young people until prosperity preaching became big. That's right. I believe the church is stuck in its old ways and scared of the youth. Man, they scared of them, man. Scared. Churches has hundreds of people dedicated to the mission, but community struggle for volunteers. How that makes sense? I don't know. Joe Bina said absolutely. Man, Tony, brother, man, you be hitting on some good stuff, bro. I'll give you that. Because why is it? Huh? How does it make sense? But struggle for volunteers, but they have people dedicated to the mission. You know, and I'm the type of person where I believe that the church has no walls. So when I'm out, I will tell a person my story on how I was able to come from the gutter with the Ninja Turtles through the grace of God and him and just being able to reconnect spiritually with my true self and love myself, and then was able to get out here and love my community. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm not going to get into it today, but I might just come back next Sunday and share that story with y'all. But what I'm saying for right now, it just drives me crazy, and why I don't comment on a lot of stuff and why I don't say a lot of stuff is because it's a freaking Twilight Zone. Think about Enough is Enough. EIE, when they was in town, do you know that he left town because he wasn't getting no traction? He started getting shut out because EIE was blowing up. And I talked to him. He lived way in Atlanta now. But he said, man, I got tired of battling these people, because the more positive things started happening with him, the more he started getting shut out these basic conversations. And I feel that. I feel it. I see it. I was like the new kid on the block doing too much on the job. So when everybody else is at the job and they taking 5 and 6 hours, that I can do something in 2 minutes, 10 minutes, they like, bro, you doing too much. Slow down. How you going to come to the Bryant Center and hold over 20 events in 1 year? We ain't even doing that in 10 years. Slow down, bro. And the way they slow you down is try to remove the money. It's a freaking Twilight Zone. And then we got the same people playing the same games in this community over and over and over. And all we worry about is the next celebrity gossip and all the stuff that entertains Black people's minds. And we got to get out of that. Our kids are losing. These single moms, they losing. The men that's struggling, they're losing. Shouts out to Johnny No Good for holding his group every Saturday, last Saturday of the month, with the men to be able to express themselves, because right now, real men is being targeted. They calling it toxic masculinity if we want to be real men. We can't even be real men no more, right? It's toxic. What'd she say? You are like a cure once you start messing up profits. Yes. And so that's what it was. We were messing up the profits. We were holding movie nights. Shouts out to Shani. She was doing movie nights starting at 6 o'clock. We start the movie at 9. Usually it's over at 11, 12 o'clock at night. Kids all over the Bryant Center down there midnight. Not one incident. You're proving that we can have something right in the heart of this so-called poor community and nothing happened. You have to remove those people. And that's what happened. It ain't a fact of whether we put up a fight or not. It was the fact that why should we have to fight for something that you see is productive for the community? Now, the Bryant Center Resource Center have reached out. They want to talk to me about possibly working together. But I don't know how much I even want to do anything down there anymore. Because at this point, we need our own space that somebody can't just pull the rug from under us. That's what we need. And me, my family that helped me, my wife and my daughter, we don't have nothing else to prove to nobody of what we can do, because we did it without money. We did it with a little bit of money. And if anybody was interested in really enhancing North Omaha, then they would invest real money into what we're doing in order to see the engagement happen, which comes with engagement, comes with planning, getting to know each other, trusting each other, rebuilding a community. But that's not what is that. They don't want to see that all around the world, not just in Omaha. There's nobody willing to invest in the mental struggle and the real change that's needed in North Omaha or no place in the Black community. So we have to stop looking outside for it and just look for it ourselves and do it ourselves. That's why you got people like Joe Bina. This girl, I love her so much because you know what? She's never going to bite her tongue when something is right and when something is wrong. And when it's wrong, she's going to say something. And there's a number of people in Omaha that's going to say something when it's wrong. And this whole thing with Kevin Clark hopping out and shooting Davion, that was wrong, man. And Don Klein making the decision to not charge him before the so-called investigation was even over, that's wrong. What's wrong is wrong. And like I said, we can't expect them to investigate themselves, because that's going to be the exact same thing that happened every single time. They investigate themselves, nothing happened. They didn't do nothing wrong. But if we go back and look at now I'm tired of using examples, but damn it, go back and look at James Scurlock. They said James jumped on that boy back, so this dude was shooting him to defend himself. But what did we find out when we got an outside auditor? What did we find out? That Jake was plotting. They went into their building, turned off all the lights, everybody had guns, and they waited for somebody to bust a window or try to come in their place so they could shoot a Black person. That was the messages he had on his phone through his little group of people. And when nobody came in the building, nobody busted a window, they stepped outside with their guns and had them on them and was itching for a problem. And what they do? Started one. Right? With his Jake's old ass daddy calling that girl a nigga lover, and she responded, which started a whole snowball of things. And he shot he shot that young man because that's what he wanted to do. Kevin Clark, he wanted to shoot a Black person. He wanted to shoot somebody. That was his whole goal. Oh, I love you too, Joe Bina. She said Jake chased down the crowd Scurlock was in. Absolutely. Because his plan was to shoot somebody. What are we talking about? It's a Twilight Zone, right? Like nobody else see what's clear to me that there is, I know we don't have that many Black people here, but is it not clear the game that's being played in North Omaha right in front of our face? And maybe people don't want to do nothing about it. And that's kind of what makes me feel like I need to get up out of here because I don't know what's going to happen. He said, history has shown that North Omaha never benefited from blackface elected and nonprofit money. A new plan is needed. Man, brother, come on, Tony Johnson. Joe Bina said, right, everyone had guns. Then Klein had the nerve to say, well, people can have guns. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. He said, oh, gatekeepers need to step aside. They're not working. Their way is not working. It's not working. It's not. Because it goes all the way back to what Frank said. They scared of the youth. They scared of these kids. I'm not scared. I'll walk up on them, walk up to them, come talk to them, hug them, tell them I love them. I don't have to know you because I love you for being a human, you know? And a lot of them was just lacking the love. And what we started seeing at the Bryant Center was the trust being built they receiving the love and reciprocating, and a lot of those kids I can still talk to this day. She said Jake's dad pushed the person in the group in the back, and when his dad got pushed back, Jake came brandishing. You know you're not provoked to use force against you according to the Nebraska self-defense law. Yeah, of course. And if we hadn't done the outside audit, we would have never knew that Jake and his father and his friends had the plan to lay in wait in the building to try to ambush somebody so they can shoot him. Oh, and she just said that. They laid and waited in the building with their guns and nobody got in trouble. Let that have been blacks, 100%. Let's switch even this instance around. Say Deputy Clark and his woman was arguing, and Mr. Sherman pulled up and in 10 seconds said, "Hey, stop!" and just shot him. And then he's a deputy. Do you think Mr. Sherman would have been charged or not? Yeah, he would have been charged right away. He probably wouldn't have made it off that scene because they probably would have pulled up and beat him and maybe shot him. Let's be for real, y'all. What are we doing here? What kind of game is we playing with ourselves to think that somebody is going to come save us, or some of these old, and when I say old, I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about the old tactics that people have been using in North Omaha to keep us at bay. Did y'all know that back in the day, so there's never been a black mayor, but back in the day, there was this fake elected mayor type thing that they would do in Omaha, where one black person would basically be the gatekeeper to keep all the anger and stuff down in the black community in Omaha, and it would be like a non-official elected mayor of North Omaha that they use to talk to the real mayor and the stuff like that. And we still have that going on right now, except the difference is they're not really expressing our true interests. Because see, back then, before Vivian, black people didn't play when it came to North Omaha. There was multiple riots whenever somebody did something to a community member in North Omaha. But when they killed Vivian, they killed the spirit of North Omaha. Everybody was just for themselves. What'd she say? He didn't even have a permit. It was expired. He should have had a host of charges laid. That's correct. And Patricia said we cheating ourselves and not treating ourselves. That's absolutely right. Why are we cheating ourselves? Is it mental conditioning? Or do we really not want to see each other win? Do we not want to live in a community that flourishes and thrive off of our own dollars and our own creative ideas? I don't know, y'all. I mean, I've been on here an hour already. I didn't even realize it. And so y'all let me know if you think we should be doing this every Sunday. Sunday sermons with Sherman. I'm thinking about doing that every Sunday. Because if we don't start talking about it, getting to the truth of the matter, and actually hitting on real facts and not some sugar-coated, watered-down stuff, then what are we going to do here in Omaha? I mean, we already struggling as it is, you know, and there's already so much forms of separation that wasn't even created by us. The Sudanese community, they are all in with us, and that relationship is beautiful. But guess what's happening to them? Same thing. Their young people are starting to get acclimated into the gangs, and now their elders have no idea about gangs, because they didn't grow up in that life. So at first they was taught to come here and not deal with us because they tell them, oh, the black people is gang members. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. But lo and behold, it was never about us being the black people doing this and doing that. It's the system that's teaching us to be this way. And we're absorbing the system. Nobody talks about it, because you can look at a teen here in Omaha and a teen in Florida, and it's the same thing happening. It's a system. Right off of the assembly line, from the dress to the talk to the gun behavior to the behavior in school, the way they treat their parents, this is all systematic. She said, yeah, every Sunday, because so many be for themselves. If it don't directly affect them, then they're not going to say nothing or come together. That's true. Sunday sermons. Jobina, exactly. Yes. I've seen it too many times. And even within the people who know me, who's been around me, or even family members, they don't understand why I do some of the stuff I do. But the moment it affects them, and then I come in as a voice for them or their family, then they like, now I understand. But it shouldn't take that. I don't know Mr. Blake from a can of paint, but it hurt my heart not knowing where he is. That's a man. That's a black man. That's an elder man. I don't know Mr. Sherman from a can of paint, but I'm bothered that Kevin Clark was able to shoot him with no consequence. And you interjected yourself into something that both of them told you, we don't need you, bro. That bothers me. I don't know about y'all, but it bothers me. And I can't turn off who I am. I fought it for many years. I tried to refute it for many years. But that shit is over. I'm not doing it no more. I'm not. And if that means us getting in trouble, me getting in trouble, whatever happens, I'm willing to do that, because guess what? When it's all said and done and people finally look back at all the things that we were talking about and what we've accomplished, that is going to spark the next generation, whether it be my grandkids, whether it be somebody else's kids, Jobina's grandkids, anybody that's doing something right now. Your family will look at your life when you're not here. Make sure you're doing something that's worth a legacy, that's worth them having something to catapult off of and go from, and say, my pawpaw did this and I want to take his advancement to the next thing, because that's what the human existence is all about. Taking one idea from one person and carrying on the work. Okay? I love y'all. I got to go pick up my daughter at 6. I've been on here longer than I thought. Peace and hair grease. Blessings to every single one of y'all. And make sure y'all stay tuned for the next information that we're going to have about Mr. Blake, because right now the police and the community, we're going to have to hold them accountable. We're going to hold ourselves accountable, but we're really going to hold them accountable to do their job and look for Mr. Blake. Okay? We can't keep playing with this. It's an 80-year-old man. The other man that went missing, they found him, I think, the same day or the next day. So that's what I'm saying. Most dementia patients are found so quick. With Mr. Blake not being found this quick, it's leading me to believe other things. Okay? I'm telling you that right now. If Mr. Blake ain't found by the time we reach the 100th day, I will give y'all some information. And Frank, you can call me and I'll tell you right now. But I will give y'all some information that will make you look at this stuff in a whole different manner. She said, license to lynch. That's all that was. The only reason that man ain't dead is because that white man in that 10 seconds thought of that, what might have happened to him, no matter how low of odds of possibly being jailed. That's correct. That's correct. And, you know, I might have some bias towards the police on my own. I don't know if y'all know, but my cousin, Amir Locke, my cousin Karen Wells' son, was shot and killed by the Minneapolis police, and he had nothing to do with nothing, but they were searching for somebody else. And this summer, we got to see the unedited video footage of them killing Amir, and it completely broke us down. I mean, the screams in that theater when that part came up and they shot him and they jumped on him and he's bleeding from the mouth, bleeding from the chest, and they still handcuffed him, dogpiled him, wrestled him down, and he got holes in his body. And no officer was charged for that. And Amir never had a crime to begin with, never been in trouble. Nobody was charged with that. Okay? So maybe my view might be different. But if y'all get a chance, there's a documentary out on Hulu called Sounds of the Police. They do cover a lot of Karen, what she said about Amir dying. They don't show the unedited footage. The only way that you can see the unedited footage is if you see the Amir documentary that was put together by our family called No Warrant, No Knock, No Warrant, the Amir Locke story. And in that documentary, you will see one of the most gruesomest murders by the police of a black man, 22 years old, whose dream and his own foundation that he started before he died, it was called Saving the Youth. He was only 22. That's something he started on his own, saving the youth, because he already seen it was a problem with the young people, and that was his goal. And they took that from us. And so in that documentary about Amir, they wrestled him down while he was bleeding from the mouth. And you can hear in the video of him taking his last breath. And the cops laughed and they joked and they said, "Good shooting." All right, y'all.